So sometimes things go wrong. And lately, for me, they've been going very wrong. So if you're one of those people that thinks you have a black thumb or maybe just can't garden, I'm here to tell you that's not the case. Even for people that have been doing this for a long time, like me, growing indoors and outdoors. For me lately, I've had a huge amount of things go wrong. But there's a lot we can learn from that. We can take those negatives, turn them into a positive, and get growing even more food. If you're new around here, then hi, I'm Kiri, and on this channel we talk about all things macro homesteading, from growing indoors hydroponically to growing outdoors in the garden, and other ways that you can become a bit more self-sufficient and less reliant on the grocery store. But yeah, mistakes. I have made so many of them lately. I have had an experiment go completely awry. I have had 2 videos that I was trying to shoot. Actually, no, let's make that 3 videos that I was trying to shoot that just went down the crapper. And that's okay, because it means that something wasn't ideal and we can learn from that. So I just thought it would be a good opportunity to share that not everything works all the time. The main thing is when it doesn't work, we have to look at why and try and see if we can figure it out so that we can not make those same mistakes in the future. Honestly, I actually think some of the best gardeners make the most mistakes, because anytime I've screwed up, I knew definitely what not to do, which meant that I could just not do that again. Rather than when things just seem to be going okay and you don't necessarily know what is the thing that I'm doing that's making this work. If you screw up, you at least know what's definitely not contributing to success. And at least for me, most of the failures I've had have happened in this room. I'm sure I will fail at some things out in the garden as well, but the season's just getting ramped up, so we haven't quite got there yet. So let me show you some of the things that I have failed at.
The biggest irony ever in moving the camera, I have managed to dislodge the audio, so we will switch to a voiceover. Over here, I have an experiment that I set up to test the AeroGarden liquid plant food against the urban leaf, and then I managed to get distracted and it didn't go well. So I've got to restart this whole experiment. Though one good sign is the only plant that managed to survive is the lettuce over in the urban leaf plant food side. So we'll have to get this all reset and then see how it goes from here. Okay, so over here we have the high rise, and this is where things went terribly wrong. So up here on the top level, I had all of the dwarf plants that I featured in my video on growing dwarf plants hydroponically. It was great because in the top level of the rise garden, there's only 10 inches, so it was great to showcase what you can actually grow in a small space. I had left the basil to go to seed to see if I could gather seeds indoors. It got really big, and in the back there was a mini Siam tomato, which I couldn't really keep eyeballs on because the basil went everywhere. And what happened was some spider mites got onto the back and kind of took over. So then they started to spread. And by the time I noticed, things were a little bit out of control. So I still have my micro hat tomato in the front. But yeah, so that went completely wrong. So I've cleared all that out and I'm trying to get that under control. And you can see all the spent flower blossoms from the basil in my failed seed gathering experiment. So this fiasco down on the lower level was here because I was going to do a video on how to grow root vegetables hydroponically. It went well and it didn't go well all at the same time. The radishes did manage to bulb up, and I'll show you some of those in a second. I'd also tried to save some seeds from the radishes using a paintbrush to pollinate them. That did not go as well, so that was kind of stopping my seed saving with these guys indoors. But some of them you can see they did get ginormous. Like these are French breakfast radishes that you would normally harvest really tiny, and these things are just about as big as my hand. So they did grow quite big. I multi-sowed them as well, which did work, so that was a success. The beetroot, on the other hand, did not bulb up at all. I also have a black Spanish radish that grew massive. Sometimes it's just good to see what happens and to learn the life cycle of the plants and how they progress. So that's kind of what this one turned into. I am curious if it would have done better if I had grown them on the top level of the Rise garden. So I have some of the Sora radish from Rise. So I'm going to give that a try with growing them up top where they're a little bit closer to the lights. And then I'll play around with the pH to see if that helps. So when I redo the beetroots, hopefully we will get some bulb formation.
Pardon the shakiness, I'm holding the camera. A big part of growing, whether it's indoors hydroponically or outdoors in the garden, is experimenting. It's trying things. It's finding out what works and what doesn't, and then pivoting and trying new things. So I have my hypothesis that it was because I did it on the lower level of the rise garden. I'm going to try on the top level of the rise garden. That may or may not have been the issue, but I'm going to try something different. I also want to look into the pH, if that might have something to do with the bulbing or not bulbing of the beetroots. So I have a bit more learning to do myself to see how I can grow root vegetables effectively indoors and then share that with you guys. So we'll chalk this up as not a perfect attempt and keep trying. Don't get discouraged if something goes wrong, because it just means you need to try something else. It's such an important lesson because it is so easy, especially if it was everything that you planted that went wrong. That can be so discouraging, and I'm not trying to minimize that at all, but we can still learn and pivot. It's also why, if you're just getting started in gardening, it's good to sometimes start with one thing. Try some lettuce in a pot, maybe grow a few radishes, get a few things under your belt, and then add more on. Or just go for broke and just see what happens, because there's nothing wrong with that either. But wait, I still have more failures to share. I thought it'd be fun to try growing sweet potatoes again. I had started filming the video to show 2 different ways to do it, starting the sweet potatoes in soil, and don't look too much at that, starting the sweet potatoes in water. And I don't know if you can see right here, but there's a hole. There used to be a sweet potato there. This is kind of all dried up because I'm getting rid of it after I had started this, after I've shot this video, but I wanted to share it with you guys before I did, which is also why that stinky stinkerton is still over there. I had some flies in the house as well, and I couldn't figure out where the heck they were coming from. Now, I think they were coming from this sweet potato, which is completely just a husk. That one of the flies got up here, laid an egg. They decided to have a sweet potato buffet, and yeah, take over. So this one's still firm. Might see if I can take that guy outside and see if anything will get growing with him. But this was not the best of successes. I will absolutely be trying this again next year, but there's just not enough time for me to redo it this year. So I won't do sweet potatoes, which is okay. I'll just do something else. The worst was this guy. This guy rooted, was looking amazing. You can see he's all sunk down. And then one day, he just went bad. And the really strange thing was, even for these ones, I started with organic sweet potatoes, but there was not a single sprout on either of these. Not even one. Even this one that had so many roots and was looking really good, and nothing sprouted. So I think next time I'm going to try again with another organic sweet potato, and I'm also just going to get a regular sweet potato and see if that does anything different, because I was really surprised with this one. I mean, not that it failed, sure, failures happen, but the fact that there wasn't a single sprout, that seemed really strange to me. So hopefully you guys found that helpful, or at least maybe it encourages you to try again. Honestly, embrace the failures. You'll learn more that way. Keep trying. Do not give up, because even with all of those things that went wrong and 3 videos I was planning to do going down the crapper, at least for now, I still had a lot that went right. My ginger growing machine is doing amazing. I'll be sharing an update on that with you guys in a little bit. I want to get the ginger out into the garden. I also got a brand new AeroGarden, which is super gorgeous, and I'm going to be setting that up, and I'm actually going to be growing some carnivorous plants in there to help with yield bug issues in this room as well. I think the most important thing, things are going to go wrong. It's how you react to that that is really going to determine your mindset and your successes. If something goes wrong, look for what you can learn from it. Don't give up, and be sure to try again, because I stand by the fact that the best gardeners make the most mistakes. So I really hope that you guys found this helpful, and that me sharing some of my own failures encourages you and emboldens you to go out and try more things, to try again, and to become an even better gardener. Go ahead and share with me in the comments below some of the failures that you've had and some of the lessons that you've learned. And if you have any suggestions for any of the things that I failed on, please share in the comments. It's all about trading knowledge and experience and helping each other to grow better, and ultimately to grow more food. So until next time, don't forget to enjoy the little things and go out there and make food grow. Bye guys.